Hi guys, welcome to Glad Rap Channel.
Everybody wants to change the world. No one ever wants to change them.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hello, I'm John Saraceno, and welcome to the final press conference at the MGM Grand Las Vegas for Saturday night's welterweight title showdown between one of the boxing's premier pound-for-pound fighters, Terrence Crawford, and the reigning WBO welterweight champion, Jeff Horn. The 8-bout card is going to be televised live in the U.S. on ESPN Plus and on streaming live. The main event and co-main event start at 6:30 Pacific time, 9:30 Eastern time, with the remainder of the undercard at 3:30 Pacific time. Tickets are still available. The fight's at the MGM Grand Arena, and they're priced at $50. As everyone probably knows, Crawford is a former two-time world champion who relinquished his junior welterweight titles, former fighter of the year, and he's never been defeated in 32 professional fights. Horn is from Brisbane, Australia. He's going to make the second defense of his 147-pound title that he shocked the world with last summer when he defeated Manny Pacquiao in a unanimous decision in his home country of Australia. Now I'd like to turn over the press conference to Hall of Fame boxing promoter Bob Arum, the CEO of Top Rank, so he can talk about the main event and the undercard. Bob?
Thank you very much, John. Pleasure to see all of you here. I want to thank the MGM for hosting this event. This is a great, great property. The arena is fabulous. It's a real great privilege to be here. Before I talk about the main event, I'd like to talk about the undercard, because the undercard is really loaded. In addition to the main event, we have 7 terrific fights, which features some of the best fighters, up-and-coming fighters in the world. First, in the first bout, we have a young man who will be making his second professional fight. He's fighting here in Nevada, which allows fighters to fight as young as 17. His name is David Kaminsky, the Lion of Zion. And Australians know, and a lot of Australians here, that about Jewish fighters, because General Monash led the Australian troops in the First World War, and many credit the Australian troops for winning that war. So David will be fighting his second fight. Gabriel Flores just became 18. He's been fighting for us for a year in places like Nevada and Texas, which allows 17-year-olds to fight. His record is 7-0 with 5 knockouts. He's a real up-and-comer. And we have a young man from Omaha, Nebraska, Steve Nelson. Steve, where are you? Yeah, Steve's record is 10-0. He's a light heavyweight. The light heavyweight division is loaded, but Steve will hopefully in the near future campaign for a world title. He's trained and managed by Beaumont, right? You got.
I don't know him.
Yeah. And then we have a young man he fights now out of Oxnard, California, but he's originally from St. Petersburg, Russia, the hometown of Vladimir Putin. I asked Igis, who sent him to you? Was it Vladimir or Donald? He didn't know. But Dadashев is a hell of a fighter. He's 10-0, 140 pounds. He fights Starlys Perez, 33-3 for the NABF junior welterweight title. And then we have a young man, pure American, who we're very, very proud of. He won the silver medal in the Rio Olympics. His record is now 6-0. He is a real up-and-comer. Everybody expects him to be a future star in the sport of boxing. Stand up, Shakur Stevenson. And then we have a WBA world title eliminator in the welterweight division. It features 2 undefeated fighters. From Caracas, Venezuela, Frank Rojas, 22 wins, no defeats, 21 of those wins by knockout. And he fights a young man who is undefeated, record of 26 wins, no defeats, 17 knockouts, the pride of Phoenix, Arizona, a young man who is looking to fight the winner of this fight if he is successful on Saturday night. Please welcome Jose Benavides Jr. And finally, the co-feature event is a 10-round lightweight fight for the WBO Latino title, and it matches Antonio Moran of Mexico City, Mexico, record of 22 wins and 2 defeats, against the pride of Puerto Rico, Jose Pedraza, 23 wins, 1 defeat, 12 knockouts, a former champion. The winner of that fight looking forward to challenging Ray Beltran, the WBO lightweight champion. So it's a terrific undercard, John. I mean, people should come as early as possible to see all the events. And then we have the feature fight of the evening, a matchup matching the pride of Australia, the man who defeated Manny Pacquiao to win the WBO championship, a guy who's hard as nails, determined, a real bulldog in the ring, Jeff Horn, who fights against the man who was the king of the lightweights at 135, the king of the junior welterweights at 140, won all the titles at 140, considered by many experts the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, Terrence Bud Crawford of Omaha, Nebraska, in what should be a tremendous, tremendous fight. Now we're going to hear from a New Zealander who passes himself off as an Australian. He's going to give his views on the title fight. Dean Lonergan. Dean?
I'm not an Australian, I'm an honorary Queenslander. Look, it was about 4 or 5 years ago that Glenn Rushton and myself sat down to talk about signing Jeff Horn to my company and the career path we were going to have. And Glenn had a very, very big vision for Jeff. And vision one was that one day we're going to fill Suncorp Stadium with 50,000 people in a mega fight. And then we're going to go on and conquer the world. And the first part of that equation we've managed to achieve. You know, we put together a fight thanks to Bob Arum and the Queensland State Government and Brisbane City Marketing, where we managed to bring one of the best fighters of all time down to Queensland in front of 51,000 and managed to take away the belt. Now there's a lot of people coming down for that fight. Bob Sheridan amongst them said Top Rank haven't brought many here to lose, and that was true, they hadn't. And we knew that the Top Rank matchmakers had made a mistake in putting them in with Jeff Horn, and it turned out that that was the case. There's a lot of talk in this fight in the lead up to this thing, and we think that Top Rank have again erred, and the matchmakers have put Terence Crawford in with the wrong guy. And we're going to find that out on Saturday night. There's all sorts of reasons as to why we think that, and I guess it's going to play out on Saturday night. We're going to find out why. Terence and Bomac over there obviously have different ideas, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens on Saturday night because one of us is right.
Dean, I have a question. This is Triple Crown weekend, and I'm wondering why you think you have a legitimate 2-horse race here, and can your fighter pull off the daily double by registering what would be monumental back-to-back upsets?
Look, we think Jeff Horn is the bigger, stronger guy. We think he's the biggest, strongest welterweight in the division, full stop. He showed that against Manny Pacquiao. You know, if you weren't Teddy Atlas, you saw a fight where one of the all-time greats of the ring was thrown around like a rag doll. Jeff had some issues in round 9, but managed to come back and win round 10, 11 and 12 in what was a very courageous win. We think Jeff's bigger and stronger. We think he's got we know he's unorthodox. And no one that Terence has sparred with can match what Jeff Horn brings to the rings and being unorthodox. He's not the world's prettiest fighter, but he's very, very effective. For a long time, Jeff and Glenn they do a thing called broken rhythm pressure. And what that means is the pressure just keeps coming and coming and coming, and the punch count just keeps going up and up and up. And we just think, that Terence has come up too early, and we think that Jeff's going to take it out. Jeff's in the best shape we've ever seen him. A lot of the times, I've been now promoting Jeff 4 or 5 years, and a lot of the times Jeff's had to cut 4, 4.5, sometimes 5 kilos to make weight. Now with a great dietitian, great exercise regime, we're only cutting a couple of kilos, so we think his strength is going to be in places that it's never been before. And in terms of technical ability, mate, I'm a student of the business of boxing. Glenn's a student of the actual boxing thing itself, but that's our view.
Thanks, Dean. Now it's time to get to the press conference's main event, which has something to do with the fighters, but it's the war of words between the two trainers involved. There's been a lot said, and it's escalated in the days leading to the fight. Glenn Rushton trains the champion, and Glenn, I was wondering if part of your strategy in being so aggressive with some of the verbiage is to try to get the challenger mentally and maybe get him off his game plan and fight a more physical fight that might be in your favor. Is there psychological warfare going on there?
Not really. If we had something to say, I would say it. It's as simple as that. We have no ill feeling towards the Crawford camp. That applies to whether it's Brian or Terence themselves or any of their handlers. This is a fight. But if something happens, obviously we're a bit annoyed when the date changed. There was no evidence of any injury provided to us. We just heard of a bruised hand. As I said at the time, if Jeff said we were pulling out or postponing the fight because he had a bruised hand, I would expect to cop some flack from that. So naturally, because as I said, Jeff gets a bruised hand every second day of the week, so we naturally had something to say. I think that was warranted, and they would expect a response of some kind. I think it was a valid response to say that we're disappointed, we're prepared, we're trained hard for April 14. So no, I don't think there's any real malice there. It's just, you know, things happen. Obviously, we make a comment, the media expect us to make a comment. We make a comment which we believe is warranted. I think it was warranted. I stand by that now. But as I said, we're looking forward to a great fight on Saturday night. This is a terrific bout, and I think the people are in for an absolute brilliant night.
We know how competitive your fighter is, but sometimes will can only take you so far. When you're fighting a fighter the caliber of Bud Crawford, who's a highly skilled ring technician who can box and punch, tell us how will can overcome that.
Firstly, I think we've got to go a bit further back than just the will. Just a little statistic here for what it's worth. Jeff's had 19 fights to date, and in those fights, if you look at the tally of the wins and losses of the people he's fought, okay, these are all the opponents that Jeff has fought. They tally 411 wins and 101 losses. That's the first 19 that he's fought. Just get that in your mind. 411 wins, 101 losses. I added up Terence Crawford's first 19 fights. It was 175 wins and 178 losses. Now, in those opponents that Jeff has fought, 12 of them have been world ranked. 12 of them. Okay, remember, this is a fighter who made the quarterfinals in the 2012 Olympics. The best effort by an Australian in over 20 years. Okay, he was ranked number 1 with both the IBF and the WBO prior to fighting Manny Pacquiao, and held both of those belts. Okay, the Intercontinental in the IBF and the Intercontinental in the WBO. So we're talking about a fighter here. He doesn't just have to rely on will. He's a very, very competent, skillful boxer. Yes, his style may not be the silky smooth style we see from the very classy Terrence Crawford, but Rocky Marciano wasn't that silky and smooth either. But look at his record. Okay, he was very effective, he had a great chin, and he could hit like a mule. So can Jeff Horn. He has a great will, and then if it comes down to a battle of spirits, and I think at some stage in this fight we all get tested, I back Jeff's spirit. He has a terrific spirit and he's incredibly competitive, but it goes a lot deeper, John, than just will.
Thanks, Glenn. Of course, we must give equal time to Brian McIntyre, who has trained Crawford for his entire career, has been friends with him since he was an amateur. They go way back. The man they call Bomac is not shy about expressing why he has predicted that Bud Crawford will stop the very tough Jeff Horn in the latter rounds. And Bomac, we know it's a very tough bloke that's sitting 2 seats away from me. How is Bud going to prevent the fight from going to the judges' scorecards?
Well, you just said it. He's gonna stop him. And the reason why I say that is because I got all the confidence in the world in Terrence. I'm sure Glenn's got all the confidence in the world with Jeff. But like my old trainer always told me, don't nothing beat you ready but been there and back. I understand you've been there, Jeff, but we ready. I promise you that.
Bomac, can you talk about the move to 147 and what that has done for Jeff? Done for Bud?
I really only got one word to say. It's called the takeover. And Jeff just happened to be there to be the first victim.
So you're predicting he's going to stop the champion?
Again, I say it again. It's called the takeover. When we move up to 147, and Jeff just happened to be the one to be the first victim.
Thank you, Bomac. Well, for more than a decade, Bud Crawford has let his flashing fists do the talking in the ring, and very few fighters have done it better. Terrence, you've only fought once in the last 10 months. You're coming off this hand injury, and you're moving up in weight class. I'm curious to know, do you feel stronger at the new weight? You feel like you've grown into being a welterweight? And do you think the champion will be surprised by your punching power?
Most definitely, I feel he's going to be surprised. He's viewing me as a small welterweight, and come fight night, he's going to see otherwise. I just feel like that's good for him. You know, he's coming in hungry and determined, and that makes for a good fight. And I'm going to be prepared for whatever he brings come Saturday. And he might get hurt.
I will add to that. Terrence could have been a welterweight, but we as a team felt that we wanted to take the full advantage of the 35 and 40 as he was coming out the amateur, so he could have been a welterweight, but we're taking our time with this. Boxing is a marathon, it's not a sprint, and we in it for the long haul.
Terrence, Manny Pacquiao was all over Jeff in that 9th round of their title bout last summer, but he didn't get him out of there. And in the end, it cost him. Do you think you need to stop him?
Listen, I'm not Manny Pacquiao. You know,
Say it again, Terrence.
I'm bigger, I'm stronger, I'm in my prime, and that's going to show come Saturday. A lot of people is comparing how he pushed around Pacquiao, but that's not me. You know, Pacquiao 5'5", I believe, 5'6". You know, I feel like, you know, you viewing that and comparing the Gamboa fight when I got hurt to this fight, but I didn't see him get dropped. I didn't see him get rocked.
Randall Bailey.
Yeah, I mean,
Correct me if I'm wrong.
hold
it
up,
wasn't
I
getting
ain't nobody
hurt.
interrupt you. I'm still talking. I'm still talking. So we're gonna see come Saturday night who's gonna be getting rocked and dropped.
Excellent point. You've said that Horn fights dirty, uses his head and his elbows. If he fights that way with you, how are you going to combat that? What are you going to do about it?
We gonna see. I'm gonna let the ref do his job, and I'm gonna do my job.
How do you overcome his will? You know, we know he's got a big heart. We know how skilled you are as a ring technician. How do you overcome that part of it, his will?
Well, I got strong will as well. Pressure break pipes. You know, a lot of people came in the ring with me with strong will, and you know, they left with their tail tucked in. So I'm willing to go in there and do the same with him. You know, this is what everybody been waiting on. Terrence Crawford to move up to 147, and I'm looking forward to putting on a great show come Saturday night.
Thank you. Did you steal that line about pressure breaking pipes from Evander Holyfield? That's what he said before the Tyson fight leading up to
It is what it is. You know, it's the truth. They've been doing a lot of talking, and here we are, 2 days away. And there's really nothing else to say. You know, I do my talking in the ring.
Work time, y'all. Work time, y'all. Work time, y'all.
Thank you, Terrence. Finally, it's time to hear from the champion. A man who's believed he's not received the respect due after defeating Manny Pacquiao. I heard you say yesterday, Jeff, that you were surprised that you were the underdog going into this fight. How so?
Look, I'm surprised I'm as big as underdog as I am for the fight. I'm not surprised that I am the underdog. Terence is a great fighter. He's pound for pound wiped out the light welterweight division, and that's a tough division as well. And I've made this mistake once before. I underestimated a guy that was slightly lighter than me, and I thought he was going to be easy work in the amateurs, and he ended up knocking me down a couple of times. I won't be making that same mistake with Terence. I know he's put on the size. He's going to be a nice, strong welterweight. I can't wait to get in there and prove the doubters wrong. I know everyone thinks that I've heard it before. I've heard I'm a chump. I've heard I'm a fraud of the welterweight division. I'm just there to prove everyone wrong.
Are you of the opinion that unlike the Pacquiao fight, which was fought on your home soil before 50,000 countrymen, that you need to stop Bud Crawford to retain your title?
Look, that guarantees the win, obviously, if you can knock the guy out. But if you search for it too much, that's when it doesn't come. So you can't just be looking for a knockout all the time. And I just got to fight the best fight I can and rely on just even scoring. I feel like back home it was even scoring, and I feel it will be the same here.
Wondering how you've acclimated to the time change, the weather of Las Vegas, and dealing with nerves and retaining your focus since you've been there. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Look, it's a lot different here than back home, that's for sure. We just come out of our winter and it's reasonably cold for us, but it's hot and dry here, and we just took a little bit of time to acclimatise. Been here for a while now, and I feel like I'm in rhythm, in good sleeping rhythm, good training rhythm. Everything's feeling good, weight's good. I've got no complaints, so I'm ready for fight time in a couple of days.
Are you concerned about fighting on U.S. soil and having to deal with a crowd that could very well be pro-Crawford?
No, because that's not under my control. I only worry about things that are under my control, and that's just myself and what I can do. I know it could be pro Terence Crawford out there. I am on American soil, but look, I'm just going to fight my heart out, and that's all I can do.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Terrence, to everybody up on the dais. Thanks for everybody coming to this final press conference. For credentialed media, lunch is served at the media center, and we'll see you fight night. Thank you.
And tell them when the weigh-in is.
Thank you.
Where is the weigh-in and what time?
2:45 p.m. tomorrow, I believe it starts, with the main event weighing in at 3:15 p.m. But that's just what I've
What time
heard.
is it? Where?
I believe it's 2:45 p.m. I understand that it's here. Okay, that was what I was understanding. The weigh-in was here at 2:45 for the undercard. It's going to be the arena, is it? Arena.
It's at the arena at 2:45.
At the arena.
At the arena.
At the arena at 3:45 p.m.
2:45.
2:45.
Yeah. Main event 3:15.
All right, John. The fight can be seen in Australia and New Zealand. It'll be Sunday morning there on pay-per-view and closed circuit, but at bars and restaurants all over. In the United States, it will be shown on ESPN Plus, one of the great apps. You can, people say, well, you shouldn't be charging. Well, we're really not charging because you can get the ESPN Plus app for 7 days on a trial basis, and once you watch it, you're going to keep it forever, and it's be $4.95 a month. But if I'm wrong and you just want to watch this fight, just get the app. You get it for 7 days, and then if you want to cancel, you cancel. But anybody who has seen that app and seen, just forget the other sports, but there's baseball, there's lacrosse, basketball, all other sports, but boxing is a feature. There's 80 fights from history, some of the greatest fights. If you want to see the great career of Bud Crawford, every one of his fights is on that app. It's really something special. I ask you all, try it out now. If I'm wrong, if I'm giving you promotional baloney, cancel it after 7 days, don't cost you a nickel. But get that app and see how great it is. And that's where the fight will be shown. The whole card will be shown on that app. And of course, the best way to see the fight is to come to the MGM Grand Arena and watch it in person. So thank you all for coming, and we'll see you at lunch. All the undercard fighters will be in the press room, and you can talk to them there. Thank you very much.